We have a second line day. We are in gate 40 and the second line is called Resoluteness. This is the gate of aloneness, and our second lines can really project that outwards. These are the hermits anyway. They can be resolute in their desire to be alone. And that's what people see as they look through the window at these second lines. And when you're dealing with a second line, they've got a light on inside the house and people can see in. The second line can't see out because it's all dark out there. They don't know who's looking in at them. So wherever you have a second line, you have to learn in your life that people can see things in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself. The 40th hexagram is about aloneness because the ego requires its time to rest. It seeks to be alone so that it can self-regulate and it can take care of its energy. Second lines don't know much about being social. They don't really know much about connecting with other people and how that whole thing works. Other people are walking by the house and they look through the window and they say, oh, look, that one's alone, but they've got a very strong will. If we can call that will out, we'll be able to use it. It could work for us. And then all of a sudden, the 40 is really surprised that there's somebody there pulling out their willpower. In the exaltation, we have the power and authority in aloneness to shed forever the qualities which hamper liberation. The power through aloneness to recognize the importance and the potential disruptive effect of others. And whenever in the 40th gate we see liberation, what it's talking about is rest. That's what it equates liberation to be, it's rest. So these are getting rid of those forces that would not allow you to rest. So what the second line is learning here in the exalted is that aloneness is great. Nothing wrong with a bit of alone time. And remember, this is the gate of denial. Now, it's really good at saying, I don't need you. It can be very clear about denying everything. It can be resolute in that. I don't need that from you. I don't want that bargain. No. So when you call them out, you really have to offer them a fair contract, because otherwise they're going to reject it completely. In the detriment, we have a natural peacefulness that in deliverance may sympathize with and attempt to nurture the forces which hamper liberation. The power of loneliness to blind the ego to the possible disruptive effects of others. So what happens here is that you get called out and you go along with the bargain and you give up your rest, and it costs you because at some point you collapse. And this is the whole mystery, really, of understanding the ego. If you have an undefined ego, this can be devastating, being constantly conditioned to the power of the ego through this 40th gate, but without having built into you the genetics that will demand the rests that go along with it. It can be really difficult to balance all of these demands. You end up burning out your stomach, burning out your heart. It's essential to have a lot of awareness around the ego center and its biology and how it feels for you. The defined sacral center can easily overpower the ego center. And the moment that the sacral connects to the ego through one of the channels that it can get there through, then the ego loses some of its power to control its own rest time, to control its recuperation. And then you end up almost permanently on the go. And this is something to watch out for with other people, but also with the transits, or also with any of your own personal cycles, whether it's a Saturn return or a Chiron return. What energies are those bringing to you that you then might need to be like, whoa. Ra told the story of how his sacral was defined for many years through Pluto. And he didn't rest at all. He didn't give his ego any rest. He was ego defined. And then when that transit left, and his sacral then was also, because he had a completely open sacral otherwise. And when that transit went and his sacral was open again, And his heart went, oh my God. And he said he just stopped. For 5 months, he did nothing. And he just rested and he recuperated. So when that power of the sacral is in there, it's almost everything bows down to the power of the sacral. So it's something to really be aware of. What is your experience? And how do you balance it all? What are the bargains you make with yourself around working and resting? Well, there are many ego people who have sacral people in their lives, either at work or at home, and they strip away their rest time. They keep them going with that sacral power. And it's not done on purpose. It's probably not conscious, but this is where we have to tune into our design. We have to know what's best for us, regardless of other people and their expectations of our willpower and the need we have to support people. This is where we can be examples of enlightened selfishness. The bargain has to be clear. And the bargain is for the ego. It's not for the emotional system at the other end of the channel. It's to ensure that the ego gets its proper rest as part of the bargain. If they can't see that out of the bargain, that they get more and more rest, then the relationship ultimately isn't going to work. I have real trouble with this word while I'm doing this transit. I might need to look at that, mightn't I? A successful community is one in which the amount of labor necessary to maintain the community gets less and less over time. That's success. Aloneness is really healthy for this second line. It's good for them. It's not as though they really know how to deal with the others outside. So it suits them to be alone. They're hermits. And remember that liberation, that word liberation in the 40th gate is all about rest. And you'll see it as we go through all of these lines. This is almost the whole flavor, really, of gate 40. Is the bargain is about work and rest, getting that balance right. And it's not really a balance. It's work and rest. It's not terribly balanced, but it is a bargain all the same. So the exaltation is saying that it is better to be alone than have people around you who are constantly pulling on your willpower to work. The detriment is saying that one is defenseless in that moment, that people look inside, they see you've got the will to work, and they come in and they grab it out of you, and they don't care about anything else. All second lines will collapse under recognition, because this is what a second line is all about. This is how they learn. All of a sudden, somebody sees something in you that you don't know is there. People are seeing that there is some chance to make a bargain here, and the second line doesn't even know that it's there, but other people see that. And the danger is that somebody gets in there because the second line doesn't know what to do with the others. It's lower trigram. And so it gets stuck in this bargain where it's working really hard without getting its reward. One of the basic demands that gets made on the ego is, would you do me a favor? Anyone who is coming up to the ego for its will and its capacity to do things, it's like, would you do me a favor? There's a phrase my mum used to use. If you want something doing, go to a busy person. And you can sort of understand that that person is probably ego defined, and they've probably got gate 40. They're busy working, and yet they can pull because the willpower is saying, you can do this. Could you do me this favor? You're so busy, I know, but could you just fit this in? Having a real strong awareness of who you are and what your bargains are with yourself, as well as other people. If you've got that open sacral, do you know when enough is enough? What are you going to hold on to? What are you going to work through? Open splenic system. Can you let go of things that don't serve you? Can you let go of that bargain if it's not actually doing what it needs to do to support you? All of these things, look at your design. Look at the openness particularly and see how is that dragging you away from what is real and true for you, for how you are here to express yourself and to consistently experience. So the 40 line 2 might say, well, I might help you out this time, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to do it every time. And if they say that, don't take it personally. because it's really just the mechanic. The willpower can only work so far, give so much. The grounding to resoluteness comes from the 37 line 2, which is called responsibility. Second lines don't like to be distracted. You know, they don't want to be pulled out of their room. And gate 40 just wants to be left alone. So it's a pretty good kind of combination having the 40 line 2 in many ways. You know, it's the second line mantra, just leave me alone. All second lines need to be educated in the art of discernment. You might have heard me mention this as we've been going through all these gates for the last few months. They need to be able to tell, in this particular case, when the bargain that they're getting into is going to balance their needs for rest alongside the work that they are prepared to offer. So the 37 can support the 40 by bringing that sense of responsibility into the making of the bargain. The moon has been in gate 39 since 3:21 this morning, the root center gate of provocation, trying to discover the spirit in others that it resonates to. And then it moves into gate 53 at 13:53, another root center gate. This is the gate of beginnings, development as a structured progression that is both steadfast and enduring. Here we find the energy, the pressure coming from the root to always start something new, whether a relationship, a project, whatever it is. This is something to keep some awareness around today, you know, especially if you don't have this activated consistently in your design. If you feel a pressure to begin something new, check in with your strategy and authority. Don't begin any new bargains if you haven't checked in that it is correct for you to do so. And the final moon gate that we'll look at today is in gate 62, and that's at midnight. And it's a throat center gate. It's a logical gate in collective circuitry. And just like the 53 that we've just come from in the moon, it's called, no, sorry, I'm getting mixed up with something else that I was going to say to you, which I'll put in later. So the 53, the 62 are both in the same logical circuitry. I got distracted. This is preponderance of the small. It's the gate of detail, and it likes to name things, and it likes to tell you things as well. It likes to give you just the right amount of detail. This is the lesson the 62 can learn. Giving just the right amount of detail, not to overwhelm, but still to be valuable. And we have a channel here with the North Node, because the North Node is in gate 17. That's the gate of opinions. And the channel is called acceptance. It's a design of being an organizational being. This channel brings the ability to communicate in a logical way. You can tell I haven't got the channel. I've got gate 62, but I haven't got the whole channel. But this channel can bring organization. It can bring structure to the world around you. Opinions must be backed up by detail in order for the collective to take them seriously, for them to be considered viable. So somebody with this channel needs all the facts at their fingertips before speaking. And it's a projector channel, so it needs its recognition and it needs its invitation in order for the wisdom that it holds to be heard and to be accepted by the collective. So this is where we are today. Thank you very much for watching and listening and taking it in. And yeah, I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you very much, and go gently.